Ooh, that looks tasty.
Welcome folks, Today the Hungry Gamer is back with another mini review, and today we're talking about Here Be Dragons, Into the Unknown. And this is a game that, to my shame, I haven't made my video on yet. And I've had this game for an incredibly long time, and I'm sure the publishers can't stand me. But this is one that it fits into kind of a weird zone of what kind of game it is, and I had a hard time getting it to the table. But I made a commitment this past month, and it was on my monthly menu as a pick, and I played it, and I enjoyed it, and I played it a few more times. So now here I am with a mini review. And so what this game is, this is an adventure exploration game, and you are exploring this unknown land, and as you do that, you'll be encountering monsters and, well, mostly monsters, and areas that you're going to be able to slowly expand your influence on as you kind of build up your settlement. And your target is a certain number of points. When you hit that number of points, that's when the game's going to end. And there's several options that the game offers that you can put into the game. There's several different monsters that you can play with. You can choose to play with no monsters and just have your game be based off of mostly building up your settlement. The other thing that can happen as you play through is you can draw these different quest cards. And there is included in the box a quest book that is another layer that you can add on to it, which allows you to, when you get a certain specific quest, you can either just do what the card says, or you can dig into the quest book, and there's a little bit of a storyline that'll kind of play out that you can dig into that as well. And this is a game for 1 to 5 players. And so what you're going to do on your turn, first off, you will move wherever it is you had planned that you were going to move in the prior turn. And every turn you're going to place a little token on one side of the hex where you are, which says that's where I'm going to move. And it's possible to kind of run straight through plains areas if they're connected and things like that, but you're going to move somewhere new, and likely you're going to go to a completely new area, and you'll draw a new tile, put it down, and if there's any resources on it, you'll get a one-time bonus, you get those resources, and off you go. Now, as you're doing all of this, you will be, as I mentioned, gathering resources, but as you can see here, you have a literal skill tree, which you'll be kind of going up these trees and you'll be buffing yourself up. And yes, this is dual layered. You'll be buffing yourself up so you can go into combat. And there's a big variety of monsters that you might wind up facing, and sometimes you'll have to literally go searching for the monsters. And by that I mean if you wind up on a tile that has potential monsters, you can roll a die and maybe you find some monsters are there, and then you can immediately go fight them. Sometimes you'll have to run away from them. Sometimes you'll just lose, in which case you will be kind of dead, but you'll come back in another form, and the monsters will kind of stay there for other people to fight. Or you will build up your settlement if you have all the materials that you need and you've kind of expanded your influence far enough, because you're also able to kind of take control of different areas which are now yours, which will help you gain resources, but also it's going to allow you to grow your settlement larger and larger. But I think the most interesting thing here is every turn you're also flipping an event card. And most of the event cards are simply good things for you. They might be a spell, they might be something that happens right away. Every so often it'll be something bad, like you get monster ambush or something like that. But usually it'll be a fireball spell or something that you can use every once in a while when you are in combat. Now combat, the way that works is a little bit unique. The monster's going to have however many dice they're going to have, and as you can see on the screen with the monsters right now, in the top corner it tells you how many dice they're going to throw, and you'll throw however many dice you have, which is based off your skill tree, and you'll compare them. And then you'll line them up, your highest die to your lowest, and their highest die to their lowest, and they start kind of knocking each other out. Higher dice knock out lower dice. And so if I have a 6-5-4 and you have a 4-3-1, well, your 4 lines up to my 6, and so my 6 knocks out your 4. And then my 5 lines up to your 3, I'd knock out your 3, and so on. And once someone's out of dice, they have lost that fight. But it can go both ways, so maybe I have a 6-4-2, and you have a 5-5-3. So I would knock out one of your dice, you would knock out 2 of mine, and so on. You keep going back and forth until someone has been defeated. And usually you're fighting monsters and you'll get rewards and so on. Sometimes you'll be fighting each other, though there are very specific rules for when you are allowed to attack another player character, to kind of, which keeps you from doing too much griefing of each other as you play through the game. And you'll keep playing until one person reaches a set number of prestige points. Though, as I mentioned, if you're playing with monsters, that will change things up. These monsters can show up onto the board, and they're worth a bunch of prestige points. If you beat them, they're very challenging, and they all operate differently. For example, the core one, the first one called the Devourer, if you get beaten by it, you don't come back. You are now like a thrall of the Devourer, and your job is now to go kill the other players. So it really does change how the game can be played. But with that said, what do I like about this game? First off, I like the aesthetic of the cards and the little skill tree. It just has this hand-drawn parchment look that I really like. It just feels old school adventure, and I really do like that. They've done some cool things with the meeples. They don't mean anything, but they all look different. I like that. Overall, for what is clearly a small budget game, it is a very nice production of what is, as I said, a small budget game. And so that is always really, really neat. But mostly what I like about the game is it feels different than anything that I have played. And it has the kind of interesting exploration, but it has this, I have to telegraph where I'm going to go next turn, which lets the other players know what's going on. So maybe they want to come in and try and interfere with what you're doing. Maybe they're like, I'm just going to go a different direction. It's very clever the way that works. I also like that you're constantly drawing these event cards, and they do all kinds of crazy crap. It's great. I also enjoy that combat is unique. I've never played combat like that. It's somewhat reminiscent of like Dwellings of Eldervale in the way that, in the way that you roll the dice and you're looking for sixes and its highest number is going to win. It's not quite like that, but it has a little bit of that vibe, and I appreciate that it is unique. And I also appreciate that that skill tree really lets you mitigate, well, mitigate might not be the right word, but really alter your chances of success along with all those event cards. There's a really good variety of monsters. I enjoy that as well. Yet, at the same time, you're doing this thing where you're building your settlement and expanding your influence, kind of taking over different areas. You're taking over different regions that are going to have resources. You're going to be able to mine them every turn. And it's just a clever mix of different things. But I think what really is the most successful are the different big bosses that you can face. And you can't use all the bosses in all the types of games, but the 4 different bosses that are out there, they all are very, very different. They're very interesting to face, and especially when you combine that with this quest book. I think this quest book is just a lovely little ad that just, again, takes the game up another level. But with that said, what are my quibbles with the game? Well, it's very random. It's very, very random. There's almost nothing that is not left to chance. Even to the point where you're like, there's monsters here. I want to fight some monsters. I rolled a 1. Well, no monsters for me this turn. Oh, well, next turn. I rolled a 2. Well, no monsters for me this turn. So it's super, super random. Just intensely random. Everything is left to chance. And that doesn't necessarily bother me, but on the other hand, a lot of people really don't like that. And I can understand why, because there's definitely times when you just can't do anything. There's also a little bit of weirdness to me of when you're playing, can you really fight each other? It seems like the game is straddling the line of PvP or not PvP, and I'm not looking at the rule, but it's something like only the player in last place can attack somebody else, and if they attack somebody else, it's going to do this and only this specific thing. And it seems to me it should either just be you just can't fight each other. Like, it seems to me this is a game that does not really want to be a PvP game, but it's just kind of sort of in there. So to me, that's just a little bit wonky, a little bit weird. Production-wise, I said I like the production overall, except with one exception. This is the bag that you're supposed to put all the tiles in to draw out of. You can stuff them all in here, but if you do, they're not gonna move, which means there is no shake up the bag or even stick your hand in and mix the bag up. Because, I mean, look at that. I got tiny little hands, and that's the whole bag. And so that is frustrating. But really, overall, I think one of the game's greatest strengths is also perhaps its greatest weakness in that it doesn't really fit any genre. It's exploration, it's adventure-y, it's dice chucky, but it's a little bit kingdom buildy, but it doesn't really lean super hard into any of these, other than perhaps the exploration, because everything's left up to chance. But there you have it, folks. That is Here Be Dragons. I am regretful I waited as long as I did to play this game, because it's unique, and I legitimately have enjoyed every single game that I have played. Some of the people I've played with, it rubbed them the wrong way and they kind of felt it was unfocused. And that is true, but it is an enjoyable game for the person that's just kind of looking to go for an adventure and is looking for something unique. And I'm very glad that I played this game. But there you have it, folks. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, share, maybe become a channel member. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.